Hello and welcome to another Lenten Reflections video. Today we're going to be discussing some daily readings for March 10th of 2022. Let's get started. So in the first reading, we see Queen Esther, and so she's not really sure what to do, so she's in anguish. She's pained. She's trying to make a decision in her life about what to do, whether to tell her husband that she's in fact a Jew. That's kind of the background here. And so what does she do? She's very devout in prayer. She, lay prostrate on the ground, and from the entirety of the day she does this. She's just doing this for God, and saying, I would hear of you, and I know your power, and I trust you, and I'm alone, and I give myself only to you. And she asks God for guidance of how to speak and how to act. And if you finish reading the book of Esther, you'll actually see she does end up achieving goals by the grace of God. And when we look at, just real quick, the responsorial Psalms, they're talking about how God calls us, and whatever He does endures forever, and that we all experience God's hand in our lives, whether we know it or not, and we have to give thanks to Him. Now, this gospel, I love this gospel. It's one of my favorite passages in the entire Bible, and it's Jesus talking about how when we pray that God will grant us what we ask for. Now, I know it seems confusing. How can God always give us what we ask for? Meanwhile, we see so many people suffering, so many people that claim to have unanswered prayers. You may even have that experience yourself, where you prayed for something so hard, so fervently, with everything you had, and yet it came to nothing. And oftentimes, if it's something more serious, this can really shake our faith. And the way I like to think about it is almost, I'm going to use an example. You have a child who begs his father to put his hand on a hot stove, and he begs and begs and begs, and a good father would obviously ensure that the child doesn't burn his hand. He wouldn't just let him go do it because he wants to. The child thinks he knows what he wants, and the father actually knows what he wants. The child, no doubt, wants to put his hand on the stove, but the father knows that in the long run, in the end, he doesn't really want that. He wants something else, and that is to avoid pain. So the father will prevent him from doing that. And even though the child may feel like, hey, I'm not getting to do what I want, really, the child is getting what he wants. He just didn't know what the consequences would be if what he asked for was granted to him. And the key here is, whoever asks, they'll be answered. Whoever seeks shall find. Just is such a powerful passage. If one prays with faith and hope in God that whatever He wills will be done, and whatever He wills will be best for us, that's when our prayers are answered. And Jesus says, no father would give his son a stone when he asked for a loaf of bread. So he wouldn't give something that he didn't ask for. He wouldn't give something worse than what he asked for. But also think about it this way. So Jesus is, saying, no one gives something bad when they ask for something good, and that's how God is. But it's also, if someone asks for something bad, God will give them something good. So, with the example of the snake and the fish, if um, if the son asks for a snake, you're not going to give him a snake. You're going to give him a fish or whatever he needed. In retrospect, whatever he needed. But the point is, good or bad, whatever you ask for, you will receive the greatest good from God if you ask in faith. And to wrap things up, Jesus gives the golden rule that pretty much anyone in the world has heard. It's do to others whatever you would have them do unto you. And it's powerful because if you think about it, we wanted to be treated with kindness. So why not treat others with kindness? Because the measure with which we judge others is the measure with which we'll be judged. And in the same way, the way we act towards others is how others will act towards us. And in saying that, let's reflect on trying to treat others as God treats us. And how did God treat us? He treated us with love. He died for us. He sacrificed himself for us. So let's go and sacrifice ourselves and truly love others with our complete selves without limits. Thank you once again for watching, and as always, God bless.